To me, Mohini Dey is just one of those once in a generation types of talents. I've been following her for a long time. I've seen lots of her videos, but I've not listened to any of her newly released music. So that's what I'm going to hear today and try to break it down for you. So let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lone University. If you haven't heard of Mohini Dey yet, as a bass player especially, I suggest you pay attention. She released her debut album in August of 2023, and she actually reached out to me back then about doing one of her songs here on the channel, and I feel really terrible that I'm just now getting to this, so sorry Mohini if you're watching, but her record features an all-star lineup: Simon Phillips, Narada Michael Walden, Guthrie Govan, Marco Miniman, Bumblefoot, Gergo Borlai, and many more. So despite being familiar with her and her playing style and seeing some of her videos, I'm going to check out one of her songs today, and that is Introverted Soul. So let's get to it. Okay. Good Lord. Woo-hoo! Okay, getting into that right out of the gate, before we get too far, because I know there's just going to be a ton of craziness. I assume Guthrie Govan's on the whole record. This sounds like him on the track. I've listened to him a lot. I didn't read the exact credits for each track, so I hope I'm getting that right. But solo bass music, I'm not even sure if you would call this. You know, it's her releasing a solo record, but some of the solo bass music can be really hit or miss with me, because the big challenge bass players face is how do you make a solo record as a rhythm section contributor and have a lead element with a rhythm section instrument, but still not lose a fundamental groove that just makes a song good. And I already like that in this first 45 seconds, she's shredded right out of the gate, but quickly walked back to being a bass player and get the guitar part shine, and just really kind of straddling both worlds that are necessary for a song to just be a good song and sound right to the listener with a balanced, top to bottom type of thing, drums, bass, guitar, everything else. And then I like that she's actually transitioned into this kind of verse section here. Okay, so what I was saying is she's kind of transitioned into a more background role here to let everything else shine, because there's a lot of kind of melodic elements happening over top, but she's relegated herself back to a slap bass role, which cuts through the mix a lot more, but still serves as kind of a pocket rhythm section type of role. And just already, I can tell there's a lot of tastefulness in the compositions of how the bass fits into, if you would call this a solo bass piece. And about the music, I mean, it's just insane. Jazz fusion, crazy funky stuff. I do hear some repetition going back to B, A, G with an E minor to give me kind of an idea of what key we're in. So we'll see where it goes. I'm sure there's tons of curveballs, but just some observations up front. I think her balancing of her bass parts is just really spot on so far. Back up front. Yes, I'm happy it slowed down. I just wanted to hear this side of her too. Wow. Okay, before we get into the bass chords, I think what sets her apart, and when I think of just elite level musicians, you spend all this time learning to play the instrument. It's a lifelong art. You can get to a point where you get the notes and rhythms down, and you play along the songs. Maybe that's your way of practicing, and you can get it really close. But at what point can you develop your own style to have this sort of feel and articulation that graduates from just the notes and the rhythms? And if you listen to the way she articulates all of that soloing, it has so much feel and inflection. There's little bits of irregularities in there. I wouldn't call them imperfections because there has to be a human element to it, right? But to be able to recreate those irregularities in a way that cements your own style as a player is truly advanced mastery types of stuff. And at the speed she's playing at, to still have this really balanced articulation where there's a mix of long notes, accented notes, shorter notes, legato, staccato, going down a simple phrase like, So that sounds pretty boring and stock, but she's able to kind of mix up those articulation. That type of thing. And it's almost as if she can do this in slow motion and perfectly balance how something is felt, the inflections on the notes. And to speed that up and still have that kind of level of feel at those speeds is just something even myself, I just am really striving to get to that level. It's super impressive to be able to inject that much feel in something like that and it not sound robotic. It has a very human element to it in her style, which I'd love to hear. So let me go back about here. Let's let it go a bit. Beautiful chord section here. Going down chromatically. Bring it way down and build it back up, I bet. Ooh. I want to hear that again. Yes. Oh, that's so good. Ooh, triplet feel there. Tritones. Wow. Okay, you can hear that she's kind of starting to inject some sort of groove. It was very kind of free-flowing, open, I'm not going to say free-form time, but just this really open sort of ad-lib type of thing. And slowly, she's evolving into more of a groove here, which I think is kind of foreshadowing where this piece will go. You can kind of hear that develop here about 15 seconds back. Hopefully I'm right with that. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. She's kind of starting to lean into a groove and kind of rebuild back some structure into the song's feel. See where it goes. Drums are getting back in more of the groove, okay? Yeah. Building. The guitar, my God. Whoa. I love that it didn't build back into exactly that feel. But it went back into the intro, so there's some familiarity being introduced here after this wacky, crazy guitar solo. Guthrie has to be one of the cleanest guitar players alive. He has this, it's never too overdriven, and I feel like there's still like a human element in his playing too. It's almost like I can hear his fingers coming off those like, just frills. What am I trying to say? Crazy, frilly tapping stuff, I suppose, where it's just so clean. And I want to speak on Gergo on drums for a minute. You know, when I was playing for Tony McAlpine, his most recent record at the time, Death of Roses, Gergo played on that record. And that was the first time I'd ever heard his playing or heard of him, which is how I know about him. But it was a challenge to learn some of Tony's songs because the drum parts could just lose ground for a minute in these crazy subdivided fills, just lightning fast fills. And he just has these really subdivided, kind of washy parts. And, it's just not a straight groove. He's got a lot of layering and subdividing going on, creating this really big 3D drum sound. There's like equal elements, washy, lots of transients in the actual shells of the drums, but he's just got these big 3D kind of rich parts. And his style is just very kind of spontaneous when he'll just roll into these crazy fills. So that's kind of a signature thing I'm already hearing, having listened to a lot of his drumming on other records I had to learn and tour eventually. But wow, what a build up here. I don't want to go back and talk about every technique used. I kind of like that chordal, chromatic thing. Starting up in B, went down in half steps. Something like that. And then, of course, she just went all funk slap, brought it all the way down. And I actually really appreciate the dynamics there. This song could easily have been just a shred fest right out of the gate. And I thought it might be. It was really intense. But the restraint to bring it down that low, still have the bass and the spotlight with kind of that lead driving slap hybrid fingerstyle kind of part she really built up, but still having a guitar solo be what you're actually focusing on. Really good writing. And I like that she's using the slap very musically, kind of as an accent thing. There's kind of a mix of fingerstyle things. You just heard those pops every now and then to kind of just breathe some of those accents back in because of how stripped down it was. This is very good. I was expecting it to be just like too much, but I like that they started in that mode and brought it way back down. We've just reprised here to kind of what was going on in the intro. Let's keep it going. Same tonal center as before. Oh shit. Cool dynamics. What can you say? Ooh. Almost like trading fours now. Didn't expect this either. Ooh, like a Latin groove. That's got a, it's like dominant 7 type thing. That kind of thing. I love that she injected that. I feel like all the entire spectrum of techniques have been used already on this song. And I love this little kind of call and response thing. And with how bubbly Gergo's drumming is, it just didn't lose any momentum. Sometimes you can go into those really stripped down sections. And she's already been down there once, just really broken down. Brought it back up, reprised that intro. Now we're in this, again, kind of trading fours thing. And somehow it's just not losing any momentum. I think it's just the mix of the flurry of tapping, slapping. I hear like some slap, kind of Victor Wooten-esque double thump stuff. There's a lot of muting in there. And just to keep that going and add some sort of musical, or like little tritones and jazzy types of chords. It's less about the notes in that situation, more about the rapid fire rhythms, which kind of lends itself to the way the drums are composed for those little solo sections. I want to go back and hear that. Let's play it out. This is insanity. I knew it would be. What can you say? That's with the vocals, it adds such a nice texture. Drums Drums and bass are on the same page here rhythmically. I feel like I'm at a live show. They've really captured that. Whoa! That's how they just kind of like, they modulated right into that triplet feel out of all that really subdivided 16th stuff. It's just so fat and obvious, and it's almost a way to kind of slow down. It almost reminds me of like when you're on a roller coaster, and I don't even know what the technical term is for the thing on the track that like stops you, but you're coming down from this drop. I only say this because I was at an amusement park about a month ago. You're coming down on a roller coaster drop, and you hear that clicking as the coaster comes in. That's almost kind of what that triplet thing here did. It kind of just slowed down that energy and brought it back to maybe the last 30 seconds of the song here, which might reprise the intro or bits of it again. Listen to that. Just so broken up. Now listen to this triplet and think about the roller coaster. Well, that kind of foreshadowed it a bit. Not yet. Nice. So it's kind of tough to have my mind blown by Mohini Dey because, again, I've watched her, but just kind of hearing her in this context, in this setting with her music, I think just puts an element of musicality behind what I've known her to be, which is just incredibly seasoned, fast, articulate, virtuoso bass player. And I see her shredding a lot. And after hearing about the first minute of the song, I was a bit afraid it was going to be like that the whole time. And I think what really floored me, as crazy as all the crazy stuff is her ability to balance the bass being a solo lead instrument or figure in the song, and gave everyone else a chance, even the drummer, to just really shine and have their moment. And it still had the element of just being a full, righteous song at that point. It wasn't these long, drawn-out bass solos. You know, she'd come in and shred something really quick, but then she'd go back and kind of just, you know, just whatever down here and just kind of take a more pocket approach and let Guthrie rip it like he does. And then even had these drum features, solo spots, but that was very intelligently arranged with kind of a trading four feels that brought me back to being at like a jazz show and watching great musicians just battle it out. And the way they're able to kind of transition in and out of these like extremes, like the way the intro started to the way they broke it down and brought it back up, and then kind of took a detour and then rolled it back in with that slowed down triplet kind of effect to take the song away. Great writing. I didn't expect it to be composed so thoughtfully like that. And again, I think she's striking a very good balance of what it means to have a solo album as a rhythm section instrument. You know, it's like, how would a drummer have a solo album? At some point, he has to keep the time. So what really makes it a drum solo album? I think artistically as a rhythm section, bass and drums, that's kind of what you would face trying to release music like this. But hats off, bravo, well done. Equally insane, but very tastefully done. So I'm glad to finally get to Mohini Dey's music. She reached out to me 6 months ago. I really want to soak this whole album in and have my mind blown, because hearing this stuff is just super inspiring. A lot of my favorite players are on it. And I hope that's Guthrie. I hope I'm not misspeaking here. I see his name, but it sounds like him to me. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you'd like to learn bass from me in any way, I don't know if you do after hearing that, but come find us on Patreon. I do full album reactions. I have a lot of lesson content, backing tracks, and much more. While you're here, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I love you all. We'll see you next time.